Hello, I'm out and about seeing clients, which is great. So I'm having to do this Friday reflection in the car. We obviously love talking to clients. We love understanding their business, understanding the challenges they're facing, and coming up with solutions that help them resolve their situations through good, relevant, and impactful learning. And this past week, I've been talking to two prospective clients and understanding more about them. And by coincidence, or maybe by not, in both meetings, I referred to the same model, the Greiner Curve. So having worked in high growth, small to medium sized businesses myself most of my career, it's a model that I found really useful. The Greiner Curve looks at usual phases an organisation goes through as it grows, and the transitions or the changes in approach that need to happen for the next phase in growth to continue. Part of the base of the model is that the approach that brought success in the previous phase is not necessarily the approach that will help in the next phase. And because of that, the challenge to go from one phase, or indeed one approach, to another is significant. And this is why the model refers to these transitions in growth phases as crisis points, as something needs to shift for you to continue on your growth in the same level. So if we take a typical company, it starts with an entrepreneur creating products or services and opening markets. The curve refers to this phase as growth through creativity. And in this phase, job roles are flexible as everybody mucks in, decisions are made by the owners and easily communicated to everybody as the team is small, and you can just poke your head out the door and say we're changing direction and everybody goes great. The phase though kind of ends with a leadership crisis or a transition as the business has now grown and old informal communication is no longer impossible. The informal management style becomes less effective. People issue perhaps become more apparent, and more cash probably needs to be injected as your production or services expands. So a more professional and structured management approach is needed. Now, having put your new managers in to manage the expanding team, we then enter growth through direction phase. And for those new managers to support the growth of the business without the owner's tacit knowledge or instincts, we need some more formal communication. Maybe we set up departments or functional areas, then we need to set up some budgets. And at this point, products and processes and hopefully customers are becoming far too numerous, and the owner or the entrepreneur can no longer manage or know everything. So we enter the autonomy transition, which requires a structure that will allow all those new managers to get on and make the decisions. They now need the autonomy, they need to be delegated to properly. So we enter the growth through delegation phase. Managers are now freed up to react to the market and to the business challenges and make decisions themselves. Top management strategy tends to now become planned rather than emergent. And the model says, and I agree with this, where this is where many businesses flounder, as those leaders whose directive approach solves phase one and drove the creation and the success of the business, they now find it hard to let go. And let's be honest, they're often control freaks, which is what brought them all the success. It is their baby after all, but they find it hard to let go of that control and their natural instincts, and their approach has built them success. But perhaps it's now getting in the way. And to compound that further, the mid-level managers are also probably struggling with their new roles as leaders, reinforcing the owner's belief that they had to get involved in everything. So we often get a bit stuck here. And according to the model, this is where we enter the controlled transition, where perhaps more sophisticated headquarters is required. The separate functions need to work together, so we have a growth through coordination. But in order to ensure all these people are delegated with delegated authority, don't go too far off piste, we now need lots of control measures and processes and sign-offs and spending limits. And so work becomes submerged under an increasing amounts of bureaucracy. And so again, growth can stifle here. This leads to what's called the red tape crisis, where the new culture and structure is needed. And I see a lot of business stuck here too, bigger ones. The model then talks about growth through collaboration and growth through alliances with other organizations. But I always think it's amazing when you go into these businesses, and building a business is fantastic. The country's been built on entrepreneurs, but growing a business is hard and it creates challenges. And what worked before, the very approach that brought success early on, may not work anymore. You may have to evolve and adjust your structure, your approach, your culture. And if you want to continue to experience growth, that is. Sometimes this is really hard to see as the day-to-day operation obviously takes over and maybe blinkers us a little bit. So So whilst you may no doubt recognise the individual issues that are happening within your business, but are you seeing them in the wider context? And what I love about this model is that it normalises the situation we often find people are in. Your business may be unique, but the challenges you are facing are normal, necessary even, and so that makes it okay. You may be struggling to get those managers you've just promoted to take ownership. You may be ineffective in your processes. You may be drowning in red tape, but that's all a normal part of business's growth, and it's all reflective of the success you've just had. So just adjust your lens, maybe step back, assess where you are and what you need to do, and then go again. There are other similar models which you could look at too, such as there's Jill Miller's 4-stage transitional model, which is really good too. Jill's a policy advisor for the CIPD, and I was lucky to meet her a number of years ago, and I'm sure you can still find her research on the CIPD website. I just love all this stuff, and so, you know, if you want to chat, let me know. We're here to help. Thanks very much.